Hello and welcome back to Drama After Dark, WGBH's live drama after show, where tonight we are talking about Poldark Season 5, Episode 7, the penultimate Poldark episode of ever. Yeah, I just wanted to say penultimate, so I got it in there.
Good job.
I do what I can. My name is Jackie Bruley. I'm one of your hosts, joined as always by my co-host, Andrea Willanen.
Hello.
And tonight we have a special guest, Masterpiece's Erin Delaney.
Hello.
Yay! Welcome on the show.
We're super excited to have you, in case you can't tell.
And I'm excited to be here.
Great.
Love it.
Fantastic.
So we're going to get started tonight with a timed recap, which thankfully this week I do not have to do. That is Andrea's special responsibility this evening.
Special joy.
Special
Let's put
joy.
It right. Let's say it right.
A true delight.
A true delight if I don't trip over it.
I think you can do it. I have full faith.
Thank you.
So I'm going to pass the ceremonial timer over to you, Erin.
Thank you. All right.
Tell me when.
I'm ready.
Go!
We discover that Merceron is behind the vicious attack on Ross last week, in fact, bragging about it while brunching with the Warleggans. But joke's on all of them because Ross is surviving, thriving, and conniving. But shockingly, it's apparently all on the up and up, so he and Dwight resort to their old tricks and put out a burn book about Merceron. Meanwhile, Cecily and GC are off to elope again and fail again. This time, after a particularly violent reaction from Hanson, Cecily is banished away, escorted by Kitty to Jamaica. Elsewhere, Horace is poisoned. No! Caroline blackmails George.
It's
Oops.
You can finish it. We'll let you.
Tess is involved with French spies who want Ross to do their dirty work.
Critical stuff.
So close.
So close.
You did a nice job, Andrea.
you.
You had a lot to get in.
It was a lot this week. There was a lot happening in my defense.
There really was. So
It was worth 33 seconds.
Thank
yes,
you.
those
Thank you.
extra. That was what put the finishing touches on the icing
Yes.
on the cake of this recap.
The bow on the present to you both.
Aww.
And the audience.
Delightful. So speaking of some of our favorite moments from tonight, let's get into it. We all had a different favorite moment, and then as we were watching the episode, had to switch it up to this one because it is just so good. This is the moment when Caroline blackmails George and Uncle Carrie into leaving her alone.
Yes.
It's wonderful. I was just once again blown away by how much I love Caroline.
Me too. And she just walks in there like she did not even care one bit if this is right or wrong. I want this. I can make it happen. I'm going to make it happen.
This is why you don't, again, a girl's best friend. You don't mess with the dogs of Poldark.
Right.
Because
Right.
Melza and Caroline will
That's
come
right.
for you. I thought it was beautiful, like such a moment where she came in and she was like, look, I know some things. I know what I want. You need to not touch Horace again. Or Dwight.
Or I guess the
Or I
Poldarks.
guess Poldarks and my other
Right.
friends. But mostly Horace.
She's nothing if not consistent, and for that
She
we
is.
love her.
Yes, it was fantastic.
Now another kind of fun moment that was a little surprising to me is Rosina finally snapping and just getting so jealous of Tess that she says, I'm gonna roll over on my dad. I did not expect that from her. I thought that she would continue to just sort of
Let
pretend
things
she
go.
didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing that her jealousy makes her, she's been ignoring her father and Tess's conniving plots against the Poldarks and against, the richer members of the community in general. But then here she finally said, I know some things and you're both making my life harder than I would like it to be, even though I'm related to one of you. So here's what's going on. Somebody make it stop because I'm over it. And I think it's really interesting too because Rosina's been such a consistently innocent character that for her to come out and admit that she knew it and tell somebody who could, prevent what her parent wanted was interesting.
Everyone has a breaking point.
It's true.
And you feel for her because this is the third time that she's been sort of courting a gentleman and thinks it's all going to work out for her,
Yeah.
and then to have him snatched away by one of our least favorite characters ever. Vixen, Tess.
Yes.
I mean, she had to do what she had to do. Now, speaking of some of our least favorite characters, our last favorite moment for tonight has to be when Merceron swans into the weird Warleggan brunch and just says, I'll have the pheasant and the bacon and the eggs with a side of vengeance.
He's so good at it.
He's so sassy.
Yes.
I love a sassy villain.
Yes. And you made the point earlier that he's so perfect at this and it's sort of been a typecast for him, but
Yeah, he's creepy, but he just owns it. Actually, my favorite part of that scene is as they're leaving to do more of their creepy business, Valentine realizes something's going on and he inexplicably grabs some toast and then throws all the bread on the floor. And
he did that.
it's so adorable, and it's like this little, I don't know how old he's supposed to be, 7 maybe?
Something
Yeah.
like that.
It's his way of sort of saying, something's not right here, and I'm gonna throw the bread on the floor, or throw the toast on the floor.
Yeah.
I think his goal maybe was to stay at the table longer so he could overhear more stuff.
That I never thought about his motivation.
I was really hoping his goal was to go find out where Ross was hidden and then go rescue him or tell Demelza. That's what I was waiting for.
Oh, I wish that was true. I wish
know.
that happened.
the cutest
Yeah.
resolution to Ross being
Yes.
down that well. If Valentine becomes Lassie.
Yes.
Exactly. But no.
Yeah, alas. I did love that it was a continuation of Valentine's growing snarkiness that we've seen from last week, where it was and who do you think should win, Valentine? Uncle Ross's friend. It's like,
Yes.
clearly Valentine is like, you don't like this, but I'm going to live my life. Thank you very much. Even if that means throwing toast on the floor to express my angst over what you've done to my
That's right.
uncle.
Well, so these are some of our favorite episodes. These are some of our favorite moments from tonight. We want to know yours, and we're going to be checking on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube to see what you say to us. So definitely chime in. Let us know what you liked, what you think is going to happen in the final episode, which I can't even begin to deal with the fact that that's happening. And just to show that we mean it, our social producer has been sending us some really great messages, which I will now read some of those to you. This one is from @McJanogi. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. I'm so sorry if I just said your name super wrong. Will Ross ever just listen to Dwight? Great question.
We can only hope.
Maybe
That
in the
would be
last
no.
episode he finally will change his tune.
Why start now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, exactly. And then this is a great tweet from @KathyB733, sort of echoing what we were saying earlier. It's not an episode unless there is an appearance by Horace.
It's true.
We love Horace. What
It's
can we
true.
say? Horace the Wonder Pug.
Horace the Wonder Pug, always so fantastic.
One other message I'll read right now. Someone else who loves the word penultimate. @Val221B. Oh, a Sherlock reference. Okay, Val. All right.
We see you.
Penultimate Poldark already. So not ready for this to be over with the
Oh, yeah.
crying emoji. Yes. I don't know if we'll be able to handle it.
Hashtag same, hashtag mood.
Now,
Talking about Twitter. What?
All things must come to an end.
it's true.
Sadly.
And the good news is, folks, while Poldark is ending, yes, and we are super bummed, we have more coming your way. And
Absolutely.
Erin might be able to give us a special sneak peek. So we're going to start asking you some questions.
Alrighty.
Yes.
Alrighty.
So we are very excited to have you here on the couch today on the Drama After Dark set. So we would love if you can introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what it is that you do.
Alrighty. I am the senior producer for Masterpiece, and that basically means all producers are sort of people who get stuff done. So that's what I do. I get stuff done. The senior part, I assume, means I've been doing it for some considerable amount of time. And at Masterpiece in particular, what it means for me is I have sort of 3 areas that I work on. One is getting the shows onto the air, because they're filmed in England, and there are technical differences between the 2 countries, and all kinds of sort of logistical things that we do. We get them closed captioned for the hearing impaired, so we make sure they get on the air, and I have a fabulous team who helps with that. And then the other main thing that we do is we promote it. So every week we're the people who sort of figure out what should I say is going to happen next time. For example, this is a great example, this episode, because last week at the end, right, Ross is where?
In the bottom of a ditch.
Exactly.
Or a hole.
So do you want to tell people?
If Ross is going to get out of the pit.
You don't want to, really. So we did that whole next time tease with no Ross, just so that the people who, for some reason, imagined that the star of a 5-season series might not show up could wonder for the week, because that's part of the pleasure of the show, is wondering. And then, when we also promote, we make behind-the-scenes videos for our fabulous website. We make social media videos for our fabulous social feeds.
Which are great.
Yep. And the third thing I do is we all help sort of pick the shows.
That's an exciting job.
Our executive producer, Rebecca Eaton, goes out and she finds great stuff, and our executive team and everybody kind of weighs in, and it's great.
So what you're saying is, for most of our fans out there, you have what would be a dream job.
Yes, I think I do.
Yes. Well, we're glad you feel that way as well. And, you know, we're curious to answer some of the people who I'm sure are asking this. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, I think this is probably true for almost everyone in this business. There are a million ways in because television and film tell stories about all kinds of things. So some people find their way in by studying communications. You know, we have several great programs in Boston. And then some people do something else entirely, and they want to tell stories about it, and they end up doing it here. So in my own case, I happened to be reasonably fluent in Spanish, and as you can probably tell, I love drama, and GBH was starting a really cool project called Destinos, which was an educational, you may have heard of it.
Yes.
It is still going strong.
They used it at my school.
Absolutely.
That's
After
so funny.
20 plus years, it is still in use. That's how cool it was. And so because I spoke Spanish and they needed somebody, I got that job and
Amazing.
started working on drama in Spanish.
And now here you are.
And now I'm at Masterpiece, yeah.
Oh, excellent. That's very cool. What do you think, you know, you have so many aspects of your job that are very interesting, from the promotion of it to choosing them and figuring out the technical differences between the two countries, which is also very cool. What do you think your favorite part of your job is?
Wow. I have to say, well, how could it not be? I get to watch an amazing number of cool shows.
Yes.
Jealous.
And some of them
Yes.
don't end up becoming masterpieces for a variety of perfectly good reasons, and a lot of them do. And the other thing about storytelling, I'm a storyteller, and everything I do is about storytelling, whether it's a trailer or a promo,
Absolutely.
or right now I'm working on some behind the scenes pieces, and it's all, each one is like a little gem of a story, and I love that. I love also a lot of the Masterpiece shows, let's face it, they're just really great.
Yeah.
You know, they're filled with great ideas and great characters, and I love that part best, I guess.
Yeah, and to your point, that so many of them, and as it is so important with storytelling, they really do transport you to that moment.
Right.
And it's part of why people love it, I think, so much. So, out of curiosity, what do you love about Poldark specifically, since we are here today for Poldark?
Yes. What do I love about Poldark? Well, we all, I'm sure, love the setting and the dresses. And we love Ross. How can we not love Ross?
Yes.
True.
I think the thing I probably love most about it actually is, and this is going to be kind of the nerdy part of me, it has ideals. Like, this is a show with serious, I'm going to use the N-word, nobility. There are people on quests, there are people with missions, there are people trying to do the right thing. And I think that it really matters to me. It matters to all my friends who watch the show. Yes, it's also a cool, fun, swashbuckling love story. And you know, there's humor and they're villains, but at the end of the day, there's a core group of characters who are trying to do the right thing and make the world a better place.
And when we talked to Christina Quinn last week, that was definitely, and for me as well, one of the big things that really caught me about this is when you start watching it, you're so caught up by how Ross returns from the American Revolutionary War and is so determined to change what he sees around him that he once admired, and now he's a total social justice warrior in some ways, which is fantastic. And it's really fascinating. So, as we've heard, you're responsible for a lot of parts of a lot of dramas, which is really cool. And you do have one in particular that you and a lot of people are looking forward to coming up that you've been working on. Can you share a little bit about that with us?
I am delighted to. We're working on Sanditon right now, which is an 8-part drama series. It's based on a fragment that Jane Austen wrote that was, alas, not finished because she died before she finished it. And Andrew Davis, who has adapted many, many Austen dramas, including the famous Colin Firth, Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Plus a fabulous Emma that we did in 2010.
Oh,
Really, really great. A great Sense and Sensibility and a Northanger Abbey, and there are probably more that I'm not thinking of. He has finished, he has expanded on Jane Austen's fragment. And I'm deep into the series right now because we're readying it for January. And I just love it. it's set a little bit later than some of the other Austins, so we're getting a little bit more into the Regency era, and things are changing a little bit. And of course, you know, because she only wrote, I think it was 11 chapters, she had sort of...
Oh, I thought it was more than that.
No, it was
That's
11
interesting.
chapters. She had a lot of characters. And we start with all those characters exactly the way Jane had them. But, you know, I think by about episode 1, maybe episode 2, Andrew had to move on. So the rest of it is, you know, his imaginings and the other people who worked on the show, their imaginings of where this might have gone.
That's so cool.
And it's great fun. I think
Yes.
people are going to really love it. I love it.
And is there any, you know, you're talking about some promotional stuff you have. Is there any interesting promotional stuff for this coming out soon that you can talk about?
Well,
I know some
there's
stuff is confidential. So.
Yes, there's a long lead tease, that little trailer that's out there now.
Which is fabulous, and we have put on our Facebook page if you haven't
thank
seen
you.
it yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the Sanditon tease yet, it is up on the WGBH Facebook page
And in Drama Club.
and in WGBH Drama
great.
Club. So definitely tune in and check that out if you've missed it.
And that's just the beginning. There will
Yes.
be plenty more rolling out throughout this sort of holiday season.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to that, and maybe that's what we can cover next once Poldark is done.
You absolutely should.
Okay.
Lots to talk
done.
about.
So much
We
to
agree.
talk about. So, and then, you know, thinking back, you're very into Sanditon coming up. I know you're also a big Jane Austen fan. Is your favorite masterpiece outside of Poldark a Jane Austen?
Wow. You know, you told me you were going to ask me this question, and it's really hard. I went
is.
up to the office and I looked at my grand list of masterpiece titles.
Oh, wow.
Which I have had to, a couple times over the years, I've had to print it out just because however fabulously searchable databases are, sometimes you just need scope.
Right.
Yes.
So
Sure.
sometimes I just go and I run my eyes over them if I'm trying to remember something or, you know, how many mysteries did we do in blah, blah, blah year. So can I give you a top from each decade?
Oh, wow.
Can I do it really
Yes,
fast?
sure,
Okay.
go.
That was the best, that was the narrowest I could get.
That's fair.
Okay, the 70s. I've lived in Massachusetts for most of my life. So when I was a kid, I watched this great show with my mom called Shoulder to Shoulder.
Yes.
And it was the story of, it was a biopic in essence, based on fact, of the suffragists fighting their fight
Oh, wow.
in, you know, about 100 years ago. There was an awesome theme song called, I don't know what it was called, but it was, I think it was called The March of the Women, which I thought was made up for the show, but I later found out it was actually a march that they sang then. So Google it and you can sing it and listen to it, it's awesome. So that was probably my favorite of the 70s. In the 80s, I watched this lovely series called The Flame Trees of Thika.
Yes.
Do you
I've heard of
remember that one too? Oh, it's
Yeah.
so lovely. It's also based on a true story. This young woman who went to Africa, Kenya, I think, with her parents to be on a coffee farm.
Oh, wow.
And it's just charming, sort of the world seen through the eyes of a little girl. Really beautiful. And then the 90s, I have to pick this is close to being my all-time favorite. It's a quirky little show that hardly anybody's seen called Shooting the Past.
Oh.
Contemporary drama
Okay.
set in a photo archive
Oh,
interesting.
cool.
and starring the fabulous Lindsay Duncan
Oh.
and Liam Cunningham from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I
Yes.
love Liam.
Really good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From the aughts, I'm going to go with Jane Austen.
Okay.
In 2008, we did all 6 of them.
Oh, that's right. I had
Yes.
just started here when that happened.
Yes, that was just a blast for me. It was just all Austen all the time for months. And then for this decade, I'm not going to say Downton Abbey because everybody.
Everyone else would.
Yeah,
yes.
It's different.
I am going to say The Durrells in Corfu.
Yes.
Which has just ended a 4-season run last week.
We're all very sad.
Yeah, it was charming. It was a gem of a show, just a total gem. And anybody who hasn't seen it needs to find it and watch
Absolutely.
all 4 seasons immediately.
Absolutely. I will back her up on that one.
Wasn't it just delightful?
It was there's something about it that is so homey and you want to be part of their family.
Yes.
And it's just so beautiful and there's so much landscape eye candy, as I like to call it in
Yes.
that.
Well, there's
much like Poldark, you see Corfu and that goes on your list immediately.
Yes, exactly. I will be there someday.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I think that's so interesting. And you know, I feel like you just have such a fascinating job and such a fascinating perspective of a show that so many people love. So it's been great to hear more about that.
Good.
Yeah, thank you.
And now we would like to take that perspective and apply it to our hot take debate.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So tonight's topic, we want to do something a little bit different. We're going to be doing which character on Poldark has had the most interesting story throughout the 5 seasons. And there are a lot of good characters, so this is kind of hard to choose. But we're going to let you go first, Erin, since you're our guest.
Okay.
And you'll pick a character, and then we will pick characters that are not the same, and we'll all fight about it.
Okay, I struggled with this question because I was sort of tempted by a couple people who did interesting things. But I gotta go with the Queen, Demelza.
Yes.
Best overall story arc. Best, should I say why?
Yeah, go
Yes,
for it.
please.
Yes, lay it out.
She gets to do everything over the 5 seasons. I mean, she doesn't like rob a bank, but she does all kinds of different. Not yet, exactly.
We have one more episode.
But she also stays herself. Like she's an urchin. She's a scared, timid young wife of an aristocrat who randomly married her out of the blue. She's a dog lover. She's got, a crazy dad, and she's got to sort of protect herself and her brothers. She's got to take care of her brothers. She has a baby. She goes through all these things, and the famous smackdown of Ross after he strays so memorably. But I think throughout all of that, she just keeps being her. She gets to be this solid, rock solid core of a person that you can sort of rely on. When Dwight is suddenly performing CPR in 1797 and you're thinking, wait a minute. You sort of step out, but Demelza is just there.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my story arc.
I
Character.
like it.
I do too. I accept that.
But I have a different character that I'll be.
Do you?
I've got
Okay.
to. Similar sort of thought process here, but I have to go with my main lady, Caroline. And here's why. I think that she has so much wonderful growth in such a short time period on the show. She's not really in all of the seasons, but it feels like she's there the whole time because we get to see her go from someone who is sort of hoity-toity, aristocratic, likes to be rich, and doesn't really want to, acknowledge that there are people who have a different lot in life, to someone who is actively trying to help the poor, is campaigning in Hyde Park for these really interesting causes throughout this last season, who is now, blackmailing George. She's really gone from
Yeah, that
someone who
rocked.
is
Yeah.
just, doing what her dad, or I guess her uncle, it wasn't her father, but doing what she was supposed to be doing, and doing what was best for her in order to retain her wealth, to doing what's best for other people. And so I was happy to see that growth from her. That's who I support.
I do like that.
Yeah.
But I disagree.
Oh, here it comes.
I do love Caroline and Demelza, and as we all know, I will. If I was part of their girl gang, you would not be able to get me out of it.
No,
I
never.
would never leave the past if that was the past I fell into, out of the DeLorean. I actually have to say, and this might be a little hot take, is George.
Oh.
I really enjoy George's journey.
Fair point.
Because, and I think his journey and how we see him has been somewhat non-linear. In the last season, we saw a flashback to George, early days George, when he first entered the Poldark Manor.
Yes.
And how he was looking around, and he was so taken with Elizabeth and so impressed by Ross, even though he had had a traumatic experience with him in their childhood, how Ross would bully him. But I think, I've mentioned this in a previous episode, George has gone from being the blacksmith's son to a knight.
Yeah.
And,
However undeserved.
however undeserved and however conniving. However, I think that shows a lot of work on his part, in conniving ways and not great ways. But I think I am a sucker for a storyline that's rags to riches. And George fulfills that. And I think especially this season, I don't think before this season I would have said the same thing. But this season, seeing him deal with mental illness and the death of Elizabeth and trying to raise his children, or child, since we haven't seen Ursula in a little while.
Yeah, who knows where she is.
Hopefully
but.
she's still around. Seeing him raise Valentine, and last episode when we saw him say to Valentine, you know, this person will never replace your mother, but I will always be your father, and she will always be your mother, and I will always be there for you, was really heartbreaking because he has struggled with that. And so I think for me, he sort of had the best journey because he's become more human as he goes. Even though he's a conniving wretch at times, he's become more human over the time. And that almost makes him a better villain to me in some ways.
I will agree with you that George is having a great season 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not sure about before then.
Yes. Yes. He is having a good season 5.
Whereas Caroline, there's something about that jealousy thing.
Oh.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Less of a great
It
season
didn't
5.
Quite seem like her.
That's true, and I wondered if maybe it was just that she has so many weird bottled up emotions. I like that we have such a focus on how George is dealing with his grief, but we haven't had as much focus in this season on the ongoing issues that Demelza and Caroline both have about losing children. And I wondered how much of that was playing into this, but I think it is fair to say that the jealousy is not cute. It's not a great look
And
on
it doesn't
her.
seem like her, like
No,
she would just
right.
speak out.
Right, and also like, you know you're awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Your husband is very into you. I don't think we have to worry about
Much
this.
like she said last episode, Dwight, you're amazing. Caroline, I know.
Yeah, good for her. Well, either way, I think we can all agree that all of these characters are really fascinating character studies, and we've had just a great time watching them play for the last few years. But we want to hear from you out there, audience. Who do you think had the most growth this season? I'm going to check our phone here and see what we've heard from you. So tell us on all of the social media channels. Okay, the main thing that I'm seeing is that there's a lot of love for Horace the Pug. We
He
have
did have a great journey.
a great journey from
First,
him.
he was near death from eating too many bonbons.
Yes.
Well, to quote at Flurry Heaven, you poison Horace and Caroline draws the line.
Yes.
So don't come for Horace the Pug.
So Horace and Caroline, we see.
That's right. Together.
Yes.
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 I like that.
I mean, he's had a great physical journey, which is just crisscrossing southern England
Living his life.
In her arms.
in her arms.
We also, Amanda's back. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Amanda.
Amanda tweets, hi, I'm just here to scream about how Erin Delaney is working on Sanditon promo. I read the novel fragment and I'm working on a Georgiana costume. So excited for that. You
Yes.
better send us pictures. And we are thrilled that you're thrilled. We're so excited for Sanditon.
Yay.
It's going to be good times.
Awesome.
So yeah, share those comments. We will read them on the air. I have my phone right here and I'm ready to read it. And now we're going to go into our next segment, which is Damn It, Ross.
Damn it, Ross.
Damn It, Ross is a segment that we thought we would be doing a little bit more when we first came up with it. And we've only done it twice this season.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good non-straying to Elizabeth season.
And then tonight, he kind of got up to some shenanigans.
He did not do so well tonight. My big damn it, Ross, for this episode is when he goes to Dwight on the shore after they send off Kitty and Cecily, and he goes, I might start acting strange soon. Can you be there for Demelza? What? Like, damn it, man. Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
It was such a moment that was so pure Ross, and so pure Ross, why are you doing this? Please don't do this, which you could see in Dwight's face. I strongly feel in that
absolutely.
moment.
I think my big damn it, Ross, for tonight was after he kind of stumbles home from the pit and just says to Demelza, like, oh, I got beaten up by some random thugs and then I like passed out in a gutter and now here I am, which is such an obvious lie.
So obvious she doesn't believe him, really.
Oh yeah, she knows that something's up, but it's like, why do you not just tell Demelza the truth after all this time? She has always been there for you. She's always saved your butt. Trust your wife, man.
It's true.
Damn it, Ross.
It's true.
But now he's a spy.
It's true.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
He is. I can see Ross being a good spy in that he is very brave and he is willing to do a lot of things for the people that he loves and the as we were talking about, the virtues he cares about.
Right.
Including lie to his wife.
Including lie to his wife, but I think that's the thing is I feel, and it might be because I'm a viewer on the outside of the show, but I feel he is a bad liar and that he's like, that didn't happen, and Demelza's
Yeah.
like,
Ross.
Exactly. She got it.
Yeah.
The other damn it, Ross moment, if I may add one.
Of course, please.
Is I just really wanted Cecily and Jeffrey Charles to get away and be happy and not be beaten up again. And I don't know why he parked them in his house, focus of so much anger and hatred from so many sources, and why he then left. Couldn't he have sent somebody else to go find out if the boat had arrived? Or taken them with him, protecting them all the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Plan better,
damn
Ross.
it, Ross,
Damn it, Ross.
as you say.
Damn it, Ross.
And I believe you have a fun, moving on from Damn It, Ross.
Yeah.
But you do have a fun historical fact check of somebody who might say Damn
Damn
It,
it,
Ross.
Ross. I bet he actually has, on and off camera. Tonight's historical fact check is about our main man, Merceron. Hawk Guy, as we call him. I am a little remiss because I didn't really realize until this week that he was also based on a real historical figure. We knew that, of course, Ned was, because that was heavily promoted and also something that I looked up immediately, frantically, to try and find out information. But I did not know about Merceron, so I went and did a little bit of research. The top line here, he basically is exactly like he is on the show. He's terrible. So this guy, he came from a family of prominent Huguenots, so French Protestants, and they were living in the East End of London, which at the time was kind of like not a great neighborhood. And his dad basically owned a bunch of slum housing. And at the time, that was like a great job to have because you go around and you collect all the rents, and if people can't pay the rents, you kick them out and rent it to somebody else. So it's if you're not a very nice person, it's a great way to make a lot of money. So when his dad passes away, your boy Merceron is just like, oh, okay, cool, I will take on the family business. And he was really good at it. He very quickly like bought up even more buildings and rented them out to more people. He just started making money hand over fist, and then he got into politics. And this is where he really was able to shine, because he basically blackmailed people and bribed them into doing what he wanted them to do.
Merceron? No.
The thing with the prison torture, that's totally real, and it also did get busted by a like young parliamentarian who was kind of similar to Ross. He was out there rabble-rousing. So yeah, everything that you're seeing on the show, fairly accurate, not a very nice man. When he died, he had kind of convinced everybody that he was destitute this whole time, but he died the equivalent of a billionaire.
Oh my gosh.
Because he just was fleecing everybody and being terrible. He ruled this part of London with such an iron fist that all of the like civil service groups at the time were like, we have to fix it. People are dying of cholera. This is really bad. And Dickens even wrote a plot point in Oliver Twist about this terrible neighborhood, and that's the neighborhood that he ran.
Wow.
So yeah, shady jerk in real life as well.
But inspired Charles Dickens, so you know.
We can give it up for that. So that's been your historical fact check of the night. And now we're going to move on to my favorite segment to say, and Andrea's least favorite segment for me to say. If you like this.
I still don't know how that started.
Who knows?
So if you like this, you will love Moonstone. We're recommending this week because it has corrupt colonialists, intrigue, danger, romance.
Sure.
And it's much like tonight's show in that it has all of those things and a little bit of mystery added in as to what's going on around these characters. So I think it's a really compelling show to watch. We just got it especially for WGBH's Passport, picked by Ron Bachman, who was on a few weeks ago. And it comes with a very high recommendation from him as well.
You know, if it's the one that was a masterpiece, which I think it
was.
Probably is, it's great. And we were talking about this earlier, I'm pretty sure that was the first mystery novel ever written.
Really?
Somebody should fact check
That's
me.
another historical fact check we will have to do.
There's some cool factoid about the Moonstone, and I think it's that.
That's really cool.
I know it's based on the Hope Diamond. I saw that when I was researching it, which is really interesting. But to your point, there has been a lot of versions of this made.
Yeah.
But we'll have to find out if it was the masterpiece one, in fact, and if it was the first mystery novel, because that would be very interesting.
I love that.
Yeah.
It could be The Woman in White, but I think it's the Moonstone.
Yes,
It's written
another
by
show that we have recommended this season in the If You Like This segment.
Yes.
I got it in twice. That's how mean
Stop.
I am.
Somebody's on my side, finally.
Now, speaking of recommendations, Erin, do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes. in the vein of Poldark.
Love it.
The Moonstone makes me think of this because there was in the Moonstone I'm thinking of, there was a flashback to India, I believe. We have a show coming up in 2020 called Beecham House.
Oh, I'm so
Yes.
excited for Beecham House.
Equally swashbuckly. It's set almost in the same period, the late 1700s, except in India. It's gorgeously shot, and there's another dark-haired, noble hero
Handsome.
fighting the forces of evil. But also, I have to put in a plug for a series that I believe is now on Passport that's older. It stars Sean Bean as Richard Sharp.
Yes.
Sharp. We love
Sharp.
Sharp.
Oh, you know
Sharp
Sharp.
is a lot of
Okay.
fun.
He's exactly like Ross Poldark would be if Ross had been born in a brothel, like Richard Sharp, instead of being born as a sort of down on his luck aristocrat.
Oh my
He's it's just a great swashbuckler set again about early 1800s. He's a soldier who rises through the ranks because he's just so darn cool.
That is what it is.
And people spend a lot of
Yes.
time saying, "Damn it, Sharp." So,
Much like we say to Ross Poldark. So,
exactly.
yes, another great one that we've had. We were introduced to that one also by Ron,
Yeah.
who brought it to our attention because he is also a BBC fanatic.
Oh, go Ron.
Yeah.
Ron brought Sharp to your attention?
Yes, he
Good
did.
Ron.
He had a lot of
doing
really
great
interesting
work.
meeting about it. It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Awesome. So if you haven't already, check out Sharp, check out Moonstone, and wait, I guess we have to wait to check out Beecham House, but we
Yeah.
will do that.
With bated breath.
With
Yes.
much bated
For
breath.
Beecham House. Now, speaking of rising through the ranks, pivoting to our ranking of the day. How do you like that for a segue?
Good work. Good work.
So tonight's ranking of the day is the top five things that made us go, no! In tonight's episode. And it was hard to call just 5 because this was a
Oh, yeah.
swashbuckler of an episode, if we say so ourselves. So in the number 5 spot, we have Sam and Tess continue to date, which is just sad, especially for Rosina, but also for us because we don't like Tess.
That was less of a no and more of a ugh no
Yeah.
for me. But I agree. I think Tess and Sam, I don't even see them being a good couple together, so I'm not quite understanding why this is happening.
And not only do we not like Tess, we're really concerned at Sam's total cluelessness.
In general.
Yeah,
Yes.
come
Yeah.
on, Pastor Cheekbones, get it together.
I mean, he's totally clueless, and I think I said this last week too. Is he has a thing for a lost lamb. Rosina is not a lost lamb. Tess is like, I've sinned, help me, and Sam's like, I must. This is my calling. But when Rosina would be so much better for
Yeah.
I think we all agree with that.
him. So
Now in our number 4 spot, we have Ross gets kidnapped at gunpoint on the beach. A thing that I almost forgot about because so much happened in this episode. But that was pretty messed up. I was very frightened for him for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's never good when you get kidnapped at gunpoint.
Especially when you're trying to launch an escape by sea and you know there's a really nasty guy trying to stop
Exactly.
such an escape.
Exactly. And knowing that Ross had left them with essentially a group of women and children, not to say women and children can't defend themselves in every sense, but
But they forgot the gun when they
they
went
forgot
outside.
the gun, and not really in this era. They're not
Right.
exactly trained in Krav Maga, so
Right.
No. Now in our number 3 spot, another Ross moment. Ross telling Dwight to cover for him if he starts acting a little bit weird.
Damn it, Ross.
That was, we've talked about this in Damn It, Ross, but it bears repeating because what? No, Ross, no.
Yes. And it makes you wonder, what is he doing with these French guys that is going to make him act so differently?
Yeah.
Although to his credit, he wants at least one trusted friend to know that he is engaging in risky behavior.
That's true.
And he chose Dwight.
Dwight is
So-
his phone a friend.
Exactly. So I sort of honor Ross for that.
For knowing
fair.
who he can trust. And to date, even when Ross is making terrible decisions, like hanging out with Ned Despard, Dwight is there and has his back.
Speaking reason.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, in our number 2 spot, this was very shocking to me when Henson tricks Cecily and us into thinking that Jeffrey Charles is dead.
Oh, yes.
We were very shocked by that, and the scream that she lets out shocked our social producer so much that he jumped, I think, 2 feet in the air.
Yes.
That was a very intense moment.
Yes. But it was also such a sad moment. I mean, you had this moment where you both saw the depth of Cecily's caring for Jeffrey Charles, but also you thought, wait, have they actually killed off Jeffrey Charles? Because he's such a young character who does have
Yeah.
promise and
Yeah.
who's trying so hard to do the good thing. And it's, he's had some bumps along the way, but I feel like he sort of found his stride this season, and it was so sad to see that might be it.
I agree, and that scream really was startling. We actually, the editor who was working on the next time tease and the promo for that one had the scream in and then took it out because we were looking at it, we were thinking this is like
Too scary.
too much. It's too spoilery because it hints, you want to hint in a promo but not make people depressed.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that was a heck of a scream.
It was.
It really
And to the
was.
point you made earlier, she did such a wonderful job performing that scene that
Yes.
you almost want to save that moment for when
Yes.
it's actually happening.
Exactly.
And speaking of things that really made us go, oh no, and let out a little scream ourselves, Horace the pug.
Oh,
Anyone comes for Horace and I am terrified, but I really thought they had killed Horace off,
yes.
which would have been devastating.
And as we've seen from all our tweets, everybody's a fan of Horace. Horace has done no wrong except eat too many bonbons per Dwight, but
Good for him.
it was
He's
a
living his
little-
best life.
It was a little scare there when we saw Horace laying on the ground. But thankfully, good news, Horace is fine.
Yeah, thankfully, yes. Now, speaking of things that you guys have told us, we're going to go back and look at any more messages that we've gotten. We're going to go for our comment of the day.
All right.
So here's what we've got. Oh, we've got some great comments coming in on Facebook. Joan Buck says, Valentine's attention-seeking antics are cute for a 7-year-old, but don't bode well for the future.
Interesting.
We were
Has
just
someone
talking
read the
about this.
books?
Ooh.
Yes. Curious about
I
that,
haven't,
Joan.
so I am not saying
Yeah.
anything, but
Yeah. I would
Joan,
like to know.
you very much might be onto something. I like this. We also have a comment from Melissa Lichtenwalder, which says, tonight was totally Ross WTF.
Yes.
She wrote WTF as well. Same, yes, we completely agree. And also she says, Tess is a great con artist. Couldn't agree more.
Yes.
yep.
Totally horrifying. Thank you guys so much for sending us these great comments. We have had just a blast reading them. I think I'm going to pick the comment of the day here, which is Poldark has the most beautiful theme song and opening of any show.
Oh.
Not a hot take, it's just a correct
Thank you.
take.
Just a correct take.
We agree,
It's
Nine
beautiful.
Patcher, we agree. And so with that, we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, so I want to thank you so much for joining us this week. I want to thank Erin so much for joining us this week and giving us such a great glimpse into the background and behind the scenes of Masterpiece itself. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, of course. And remember to join us next week for that final episode of Poldark, which will be exciting and scary, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed pretty much all week that it all wraps up well for our friends in the show. So have a great week, and we will see you